Good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Parikshit Luthra and here are the headlines we are tracking. Prime Minister Narendra Modi leads the international yoga celebrations at the United Nations headquarters in New York. He will be heading to Washington later tonight and hold bilateral meetings with President Joe Biden. Elon Musk calls on Prime Minister Modi, says he's confident Tesla will be in India and will do so as soon as humanly possible. Also responds to former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey's claims of being threatened by the Indian government during the farm laws protests. Says Twitter does not have a choice but to obey local governments. US-based Micron Technology becomes the first company to get cabinet approval under the semiconductor scheme. Plans to set up a chip testing and packaging facility in Gujarat. The total cost of the project will be 22,000 crore rupees, with government supporting 50% of the investment. CNBC-TV18 Newsbreak confirmed Lupin becomes the first generic player to get US regulatory approval for a $1 billion respiratory drug. Lupin shares rally in trade. Consumer durable companies stare at a washout this summer. Sales of air conditioners, refrigerators and other cooling products declined between 20 to 25% in April and May. Production cut of more than 30% likely in June due to balance inventory. 54 suspected deaths due to the heat wave in Uttar Pradesh's Deoria district in the last 24 hours. This takes the overall death toll in the state to 122 since the last 7 days. Met Department predicts the heat wave to abate in 2 days. The world is making slow progress on gender parity. World Economic Forum estimates it will take 131 years for women to be treated as equals to men. India improves its ranking but remains 127 out of 146 countries on gender equality. Rescue teams race against time after a tourist submersible with 5 people vanished on its descent to the century-old wreckage of the Titanic. US Coast Guard is searching the depths of the North Atlantic after some undersea noises were detected. Defence collaborations consolidating ties and an eye on the global south. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's landmark 4-day state visit to the United States has raised expectations on multiple deliverables. The Prime Minister kicked off his trip with back-to-back meetings with CEOs and thought leaders in New York. He led the 9th International Yoga celebrations at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Addressing a gathering at the lawns of the UN headquarters, the Prime Minister said that yoga was universal and applied to all ethnicities, faiths and cultures. Top UN officials, diplomats and prominent individuals from around the world took part in the yoga session.
Yoga is free from copyright, free from patents, and free from royalty payments. Yoga is adaptable to your age, gender and fitness level. Yoga is portable. You can do it at home or at work or in transit. Yoga is flexible.
And overnight, Prime Minister Modi met top business and thought leaders in New York, including Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla. Elon Musk says the electric car maker will be coming to India soon. Here's a report. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States is a landmark visit for more than one reason. It is designated a state visit, the highest expression of a friendly bilateral relationship from the US point of view. It also comes at a time when President Biden is keen to consolidate the nation's friendship with India amidst frosty ties with China. In this setting, it is telling that Prime Minister kicked off his visit with a slew of meetings with top CEOs and thought leaders. His hard sell of the India story has found many takers, starting with Tesla CEO Elon Musk, who sees opportunity in India's internet revolution, its energy transition, and its thrust on green mobility.
I'm tentatively planning to visit India again next year. And we're also hopefully looking forward to bringing Starlink to India as well. The Starlink internet, which I think can be incredibly helpful for sort of remote or rural villages.
Starlink, an ambitious project spearheaded by Musk-owned SpaceX, is a satellite internet constellation designed to provide global broadband coverage. The Prime Minister reportedly invited Musk to explore opportunities in India for investments in both electric mobility and commercial space sector. Musk, who owns Twitter, reacted on former CEO Jack Dorsey's recent claims that the Indian government had threatened him with a Twitter shutdown.
Yeah, I mean, Twitter doesn't have a choice but to obey local governments. You know, if we don't obey local government laws, then we will get shut down. So the best we can do is really to hew close to the law in any given country. But it is impossible for us to do more than that, or we will be blocked and our people will be arrested. But we'll do the best to provide the freest speech that is possible under the law.
Musk was not alone in coming out of the meeting enthused by the India story and admiration for India's Prime Minister. Famous astrophysicist Neil Tyson and billionaire investor Ray Dalio believe India will play a crucial role in a new world order.
All of the challenges we have in civilization, the solutions are going to come from innovations in science and technology and engineering and math. And it's very clear to me that he cares about all of this.
Prime Minister Modi is a man whose time has come at the time that India's time has come. The potential of India is enormous, and you have now a reformer, a radical reformer, who has the ability to transform it and the popularity to transform it.
We talked about the importance of successful urban development and the things that the government really needs to do to help lead in urban development. He understands these issues very well. He articulated very well the main message, which is that urbanization is not a problem, it's an opportunity. And I take it this is a slogan that he's used before. India, just as India did this for Aadhaar, I think for telephony and electronic authentication, I think India could really show the world how to do it right.
The Prime Minister also met with academicians and experts across disciplines, from American Nobel laureate and molecular biologist Dr. Peter Agre to former United States Trade Representative Michael Froman, to Indian-American businesswoman and Grammy-nominated artist Chandrika Tandon, to the chancellors and heads of various universities. Discussions ranged from geopolitics to the global economic situation, from terrorism to education collaboration, from global healthcare readiness to development and innovative use of tech-enabled solutions. The Prime Minister will now head to Washington, D.C. and meet with President Biden and other officials to discuss various collaborations from defense to artificial intelligence. Bureau Report, CNBC-TV18. And US-based Micron Technology has become the first company to get cabinet approval under the semiconductor scheme. The company has plans to set up a chip testing and packaging facility in Gujarat. Ashmit Kumar joins us now. Ashmit, this marks the end of a long wait for India to have some sort of semiconductor facility, a global investment. Tell us more about the project, the significance, especially because this announcement is going to happen during Prime Minister's meetings with President Biden.
India's semiconductor journey has well and truly begun today, and especially coming at a time when the US is hosting the Indian Prime Minister. The cabinet has approved Micron's bet on India as a semicon destination. This is the first such approval granted to an applicant under India's flagship scheme for semiconductors. With this approval, Micron will now be setting up an ATMP, or an assembly, testing, marking and packaging facility. This unit is likely to come up in Sanand, Gujarat, which already boasts of a vast industrial hub. Let's talk numbers now. The plan has been approved under the semicon scheme, where the government will support the cost of the project on a dollar-for-dollar basis. So under the approved plan, Micron will make an investment of 11,000 crores. This will be matched by support from the government of an equal amount of 11,000 crores. This takes the total investment to 22,000 crore rupees. So why is this investment significant? There are 6 reasons. Number one, the approval for Micron comes at a time when the Indian Prime Minister is on a US state visit. A commitment of this scale by Micron will strengthen India's pitch as a semiconductor destination. Number two, the approval comes close on the heels of the US visit by Telecom, IT and Rail Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. He met with multiple CEOs, academicians and industry experts to lay the groundwork. Number three, it's been a long wait. The original semicon scheme was notified in December of 2021. And while the government has been pitching India as a hub for semiconductors, given the public money involved, it has been guarded. So the first approval comes 18 months after the scheme had been notified. Number four, in September of 2022, the semicon scheme was amended, and under this modification, the support from the government was ramped up from 30% all the way up to 50% of the project cost for ATMPs. This sweetening of the deal was crucial. Number five, this would be the first time that the government has approved an upfront payment to bear the cost of the project. Just for context, a PLI scheme pays the companies the incentive after the incremental production. And lastly, but significantly, India's wait for a fabrication facility for making semiconductors continues. India had aspired to host these fab facilities, but a lot of large players have been shy so far. But despite that, speaking just a few days ahead of the approval, US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, in a conversation with CNBC-TV18, had said, and I quote here, there would be substantial results on the India-US cooperation on semiconductor supply chains. US and India are working on ways to promote semiconductor manufacturing in India. US has invested resources in reshoring semiconductor supply chain to us, but we would like to contribute to semiconductor manufacturing in India. This is one area we would like to make rapid progress and show results. End of quote. The hope is that with the government opening up a second window, more players would turn their interest into investments. Meanwhile, the government is gearing up to roll out the red carpet for the entire semicon ecosystem.
Right, and the Micron CEO Sanjay Mehrotra will be calling on the Prime Minister in a few hours from now, and it is widely expected that the deal, the micro investment deal for India, could be announced post that meeting. Moving on to the market action now. It was a good day for the bulls on Dalal Street. Nifty Sensex and Nifty Midcap all hit record closing highs. The Midcap Index hit new peaks for the 8th straight session. In fact, the Sensex hit a record high in intraday trade. Nifty and Sensex gained 0.25%. The rally was led by the HDFC Twins, TCS and Reliance. Banks rose in line with the blue chips. Prashant Nair is here with the market wrap.
Well, almost a repeat of yesterday, because like yesterday, the market started on a tentative kind of note. There was a dip. Today was not as dramatic as yesterday. Low was made like yesterday around 10:30, 11. Then a slow, steady march. The only thing which was missing was the huge move which we saw between 3 and 3:30 yesterday. Today that was missing. But it's still a respectable close. The Nifty ended about 40 points higher. The Nifty Bank underperforming the Nifty, but quite okay. Mid caps and small caps came off the day's high. And of course, the advance decline was notable, with more declines as compared to advances. On the Nifty, stocks which did well: Old Economy, Power Grid, ONGC. There was an HDFC Bank as well. There was an upgrade from Goldman. Nifty cuts coming through in metal stocks: Hindalco, JSW Steel and Mahindra & Mahindra. I'll start with broader market losers because there were more of them. Mazgaon sold off, has been a huge outperformer. Aptus, there was a large block right at the word go today. Polycab, a block is expected. The stock was under pressure. Jamna Auto, Titagarh, Home First, Gokuldas Exports were a few. But volume-led gainers is still a much longer list. And it's just quite spectacular. Shriram Finance and Piramal Enterprises, both stocks seeing action after that big clean-out block trade where Piramal sold out of Shriram Finance. Lupin, we reported the news first, stock reacting big time. Max Financial, JSW Energy, Happiest Minds, Subros for the second day running, although the stock came off the highs of the day. GMDC, Tube Investments, Blue Dart, Nazara, Linde India, La Opala, Hindware, Satin Credit Care, Muthoot Capital, even Muthoot Finance, which is back above 1200. So no dearth of big, solid volume-led gainers today. Out of the US, we'll hear from Fed Chair Powell again as he testifies before the Congress both today and tomorrow. We'll see if markets react. And with global Q supportive, it just needs one small push and you'll be past the all-time high on the Nifty. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Prashant, for summing up all the market action. Now, a CNBC news break has been confirmed. Lupin has received approval from the US regulator for its respiratory drug, Spiriva. Lupin is the first generic drug company to receive USFDA's nod for the respiratory drug. Vivek Iyer joins us now with the details. Vivek, what are you picking up?
Well, today morning we told you that Lupin had got the USFDA approval for a very important drug, that is generic version of Spiriva, which is used to treat asthma-like conditions. Along expected lines, midday the company went ahead and informed the exchanges that yes, indeed, it had received the USFDA nod to go ahead and launch the generic Spiriva. Now, when you're talking about this particular product is a blockbuster product. When you're talking about Lupin is the first generic company to receive an approval to go ahead and launch this product. Company says that it will be producing or manufacturing this particular drug from its Pithampur facility, and the annual sales of this particular drug was in the US market was over $1,260 million. So significant market opportunity as far as Lupin is concerned. A couple of brokerages, post the development have written. JM Financial says that as per last commentary, the target action date for the launch of generic Spiriva was actually August 2023. So it's a positive surprise that the company has received the approval ahead of what they were anticipating. What they're also saying is that this particular approval improves the earnings and margin visibility, thereby driving earnings upgrade. Antique also along similar lines has written. What they're saying is that this was a much awaited opportunity as far as Lupin is concerned and remains the company's largest opportunity in the US market. They expect generic Spiriva to generate close to $35 million in FY24 and over $110 million in FY25. So all in all, a very significant development as far as Lupin is concerned, and it's a significant launch that analysts who are anticipating now have started baking it into their estimates.
Thanks, Vivek, for joining us with that big breaking story. Moving on, the Income Tax Department has conducted a survey at 5 locations of Shree Cement in Rajasthan. This according to sources who have told CNBC-TV18 that the procedure has been carried out to verify deductions claimed by the company under Section 81A. Online marketplace OLX Group and the Classifeed's business arm of Prosus has cut around 800 jobs globally, according to TechCrunch. The move comes as the company begins to phase out activities of its automotive business arm, OLX Autos, in several areas after a lengthy search for potential buyers and investors. India's consumer durables industry has seen yet another tepid season despite an early onset of summer and reports of heat waves in many parts of the country. Sales of cooling products have declined by nearly 30% in the summer of 2023. CNBC-TV18's Shilpa Ranipeta reports that white goods manufacturers are now hoping that falling inflation and festive season will bring some relief.
The summer of 2023 has been a dry one for the consumer durables sector. Sales, especially of cooling products, have declined between 25 to 30% over the months of April and May. This is a far cry from the 20 to 30% sales growth the industry was expecting when summer came early. Vijay Sales tells CNBC-TV18 that sales are down 25 to 30% in April and 15 to 20% down in May. Blue Star, meanwhile, expects to end the summer season with a flat to low single-digit growth in sales. Experts blame this near washout on multiple factors, unseasonal rainfall and high inflation among them.
One of the things that we're seeing is, April, May, especially lean very heavy on summer product sales for the category. And especially, you have your coolers and ACs and, refrigerators. I think these have taken a hit. The other thing is actually a consumption-driven lever, which is weather itself, which did not play in favor of the summer products. I think that clearly has impacted.
Unseasonal rains have meant that the northern market has been a big laggard when it comes to the sales of cooling devices like air conditioners, coolers and refrigerators. And while the heat wave that has swept through many regions has helped, it has not been enough. Players say the southern and western markets have fared better, but fear they are not out of the woods yet.
The cooling appliances has had a very interesting 3 to 4 months. And I think that's dictated more by weather patterns than by the economy. You had this almost yo-yo of the heat wave, then unseasonal rains. Now speaking, June is extremely hot in many parts of the country. You're seeing very strong tertiary demand. At the same time, primary demand is a little soft.
The delayed monsoon has also helped a little, and sales performance in June has been better than usual. However, some players indicate that they may have to cut production by 30 to 40% in June to balance out unsold inventory. These companies are now banking on the festive season and easing inflation to boost consumer sentiment and help make up for some of this slowdown. In Mumbai, Shilpa Rani Peta.
And time for a short break, but up next, the world is making slow progress on gender parity. World Economic Forum estimates it will take 131 years for women to be treated as equals to men. Details when we are back.
Yoga provides physical prosperity. LIC provides security and prosperity. LIC wishes you a happy International Yoga Day.
What does it take to build India's largest startup platform? It takes a journey of starting out as an unknown and ending up as unforgettable. It takes more than 2 decades of celebrating the most influential and influencing the most celebrated entrepreneurs. From chronicling the stories of India's startup universe to becoming a success story in itself, as India's longest running show on startups and entrepreneurship, celebrating 21 action-packed years of building India's biggest startup community. Young Turks at 21. Only on CNBC-TV18 and CNBC-TV18.com.
Co-presented by LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
Loan, loan, loan. अरे जिसको देखो दे रहे हैं लोन लोन लोन, और इसको उसको सबको चाहिए लोन लोन लोन.
जो घर लेना हो ले ले लोन ले ले लोन, गोल्ड लोन लेना हो ले ले लोन, बिजनेस बढ़ाना हो ले ले लोन ले ले लोन. अरे लोन पर लोन ये कौन सा है लोन?
कभी सही इंटरेस्ट तो बोल,
कई छुपी शर्तों का झोल.
अरे स्टॉप, अब गोल गोल को छोड़, सुन सीधी बात के बोल. अब हर सपना होगा पूरा जो तेरा है अधूरा, और IIFL फाइनेंस पे है मेरा भरोसा पूरा. गोल्ड से लेकर बिजनेस, पर्सनल से लेकर होम, हर जरूरत को मिलेगा लोन. तो हुआ ना यही सही लोन. IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात.
Welcome back to India Business Hour. No relief yet for Uttar Pradesh after 68 suspected heatwave deaths in Balia. Over 54 have lost their lives in Deoria in the last 24 hours. The IMD says that the heatwave over East India and adjoining Central India is likely to abate from the 23rd of June. Abhimanyu Sharma is standing by with more details.
With 54 suspected deaths due to heat wave in Deoria, apart from the 68 such incidents in Balia, now the total toll of suspected heat wave deaths is over 100 in Uttar Pradesh since the 15th of June. The union government has taken stock of the situation. The Union Health Minister, Mansukh Mandavia, held a meeting with several state disaster management committees, and states have been asked to comply with the National Action Plan on Heat-related illnesses, ensure preparedness of healthcare facilities, as well well as ensure availability of essential medicines and logistics. A joint team of the Union Health Ministry, IMD and Niti Aayog is touring several states which are impacted by the heat wave, and the delay in monsoon has also extended the heat wave to a certain extent. However, the IMD has forecast that there will be some relief from the heat wave from the 23rd of June in several states of North India and Central India. So clearly, the government is ensuring that the action plan to deal with heat wave related illnesses is implemented in states, as well as the state governments are taking stock of the situation.
Thanks, Abhimanyu, for joining us. The world has been making slow progress on gender parity. A report published by the World Economic Forum has estimated it will take 131 years for women to be treated as equals to men. However, India has made an improvement in its rankings, but it remains 127 out of 146 countries on gender equality. Ritu Singh joins us now with the details. Ritu, take us through the findings of the report.
Now, the world is making a very slow progress towards closing the gender gap, and women will not be able to attain parity with men for another 131 years. According to the World Economic Forum's latest Global Gender Gap report, the overall gender gap measurement, which is a measurement of equality across economy, politics, health and education, closed by a mere 0.3 percentage points compared to last year. The global gender gap is now only 68.4% closed, and the world fares the worst when it comes to political empowerment of women and economic opportunities for them. Now, at this current rate of progress, we will take 162 years to close the political empowerment gender gap, 169 years for the economic participation and opportunity gap, and 16 years for the educational attainment gap. The time to close the health and survival gender gap, that remains undefined. Now, for the 14th year running, we have Iceland taking the top position. It also continues to be the only country in the world to have closed more than 90% of its gender gap. These top 10 countries also include 3 other Nordic countries. You have Nicaragua as well as Namibia on the list. Now, India has closed 64.3% of the overall gender gap and ranks 127th on the global index. It has improved by 1.4 percentage points from last year and 8 positions in ranking compared to 2022. But while India has attained parity in enrollment across all levels of education, it has reached only about 37% parity on economic participation and opportunity and barely 25% on political empowerment. Although currently, women represent more than 15% of parliamentarians, which is the highest for India since the inaugural 2006 edition of this report. Now, on the Health and Survival Index, India saw some improvement as well. But if you look at the rankings, India saw the biggest jump on educational attainment, but it slipped in political empowerment compared to other countries. We fare the worst when it comes to economic participation and health when we compare it to the rest of the world. But as far as work participation and leadership positions are concerned, India is very far from ideal. The share of women's membership in board positions stands at just over 17%. Only 1.8% of the firms have majority female ownership, and less than 9% have females as top managers. The share of women in the informal sector, as you can see, is also quite high. Overall, over the last decade, there's been insufficient progress in achieving parity, and the tepid progress was interrupted further by the pandemic, which highlights the need for renewed focus by both the governments and business leaders.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you for watching. News continues right here on CNBC-TV18.